There comes a point in every empath's life when something inside them becomes completely silent, not broken, not angry, just whole. Carl Jung discovered that it wasn't depression or emotional exhaustion. He called it final stage of spiritual awakening, and it terrifies all who witness it because when it strives to care, it doesn't become cruel. It becomes untouchable. This changes everything. Jung spent decades studying patients who reached this state. What he found challenges everything we think about empathy, spirituality, and personal transformation. An empathic moment of care is not the end of the journey. It is beginning something much more powerful. Understanding why this happens may be the most important psychological insight you will find. Before understanding why empaths stop caring, we need to see what drives them to that edge. Jung documented a consistent pattern in the most sensitive patients. They weren't people who felt deeply occasionally. They were individuals whose nervous system functioned as emotional receiver from everyone around them. They entered rooms and immediately absorbed the psychological atmosphere. Family dinners left them exhausted, managing unspoken tensions. Friendships drained them because both sides carried every conflict. Romantic relationships almost destroyed them. They felt their partner's pain more intensely than the partner themselves. Do you recognize this? You arrive at work feeling anxious before the team meeting even starts. You browse the supermarket feeling strange stress from strangers. You go to the movies carrying someone else's sadness. Jung called these individuals emotional buffers of social systems. They didn't just empathize with suffering. They absorbed, processed, and transmuted for others to function. Parents dumped their anxiety on them. Siblings used them as free therapists. Partners treated them like emotional support animals, existing only to manage moods. This is where the tension that Jung identified with surgical precision comes in. These empaths never complained. They accepted roles as sacred purpose. They believed their sensitivity was destined to serve others, a gift that compelled them to sacrifice their own peace for the comfort of others. They wore exhaustion as a badge of honor, proof that they were good people who care enough to suffer. Cultural conditioning ran deep. Childhood was praised for being understanding, making others feel better, and keeping the peace. Every time they suppressed their own needs to accommodate another, they received validation. Every time they absorbed someone's anger to prevent conflict, they heard mature beyond their years. Positive reinforcement created a pattern, automation of self-abandonment which seemed like virtue. Have you ever felt this as a virtuous burden? I'm sensitive, so I should suffer for others. My empathy proves my worth. Jung observed patients carrying the emotional world of others like a sacred cross. But he noticed something empaths themselves didn't yet see. Behind the compassionate facade, psyche kept records, all manipulation, all betrayal. Every moment exploited kindness. The unconscious empath did not absorb experiences randomly. He cataloged patterns with surgical precision. Think about those moments that silently accumulate. A friend calls at 3 a.m. about a love crisis. You listen for 2 hours. A colleague vents about endless complaints. You become an unpaid therapist. A family member unloads generational anxieties. You absorb it all without complaint. Each time you think, it's my role, I'm an empath, I should help. But your unconscious registers pattern of emotional exploitation detected. Jung identified dangerous psychological split forming. On the surface, the empath seemed functional, even thriving as a caregiver. Below the surface, resentment accumulated like pressure in a sealed container. Not conscious, expressible resentment, but toxic, unconscious, poisoning one's sense of self. The question that cuts through now: what if every time you felt, I'm too sensitive for this world? It wasn't weakness, but psychic alarm system, trying to protect you from being consumed alive by someone else's dysfunction. What if exhaustion wasn't a defect, but a symptom of unpaid emotional labor? What supported entire systems? The breaking point always involved betrayal, not simple disappointment or minor conflict. Deep betrayal, someone who was an empath, protected, defended, and loved unconditionally. Jung documented this. Trigger point: dozens of cases. Catalyst forcing shadow integration. But what drives a draw to this dangerous edge where something within it simply stops? The answer lies in psychic archive that Jung discovered operating silently behind compulsive compassion. Prepare to see how your own psyche has been keeping precise records of every emotional exploration, and why this secret catalog is about to explode. Have you ever felt that inexplicable tiredness? You arrive home after a family dinner feeling a weight that isn't yours. You leave a coffee date with a friend carrying their anxiety, as if it were your problem. You wake up at 3 a.m. with a tight chest because of a colleague's romantic crisis who confided in you yesterday. Carl Jung would say, "You're not too sensitive. You function like collective emotional receptor." The nervous system absorbs the psychological atmosphere before consciousness registers it. Jung documented such patients with clinical precision, not people feeling deeply occasionally, individuals whose entire body operated as emotional buffer of social systems. They would enter rooms, picking up on unspoken tensions. Family dinners would become exhausting. Anxious mother, irritated father, resentful brother, all unconsciously venting. The empath would silently process this psychic storm so the family could function. Think about your routine. Work. You enter a meeting. You feel anxious about your manager before he even speaks. A stressed team contaminates the environment. You absorb it. Try to alleviate it. Friendships. A friend calls complaining about his girlfriend for the 10th time. You listen for an hour and a half, hang up exhausted, carrying anger towards him like a stone. Relationships. Your partner arrives irritated. You feel guilty before understanding the reason. You end up managing his mood on top of your own. Jung identified a ruthless pattern. They didn't empathize with suffering only. They absorbed, processed, transmuted for others to function. Parents unloaded generational anxieties. Siblings used them as free therapists. I just wanted your advice. Partners treated them as animals, provide emotional support, existing solely to manage moods. Empaths sustained entire systems through invisible emotional labor, Jung noted. You recognize it, don't you? A colleague endlessly vents about their boss. You become their unpaid therapist. A friend has a relationship crisis at 2 a.m. You wake up, listen, and absorb their sadness. A family member unloads their financial problems. You feel the weight of a responsibility that isn't yours. Each time you think, it's my role, I'm an empath, I should help. You do it so well that nobody notices the burden. Here enters a mystery that Jung was beginning to unravel. A twist that challenges everything you believe about empathy. These empaths, they never complained. They accepted roles such as sacred purpose. They believed their sensitivity was destined to serve others. A gift that compelled them to sacrifice their own peace for the comfort of others. They wore exhaustion as medal of honor, proof that they are good people who care enough to suffer. Remember your childhood? What an understanding child. Always makes others feel better. Mature beyond their years. Every time you suppressed anger to accommodate your tantrum-throwing sister, you received praise. Every time you absorbed your mother's anxiety to prevent a fight, you were the peace of the house. Positive reinforcement created automation, self-abandonment, which seemed to be the supreme virtue. Think about it, Mariana, 32, a teacher, a hysterical mother. Mariana had been mediating since she was 8. A dramatic sister. Mariana listened to her teenage crises. Friends used her WhatsApp 24/7 as an emotional hotline. At 29, a nervous breakdown. Therapy revealed 87% of her daily energy went to other people's demands. She started saying, "I can't talk today." Her family panicked by week 2. It wasn't love. It was dependent system collapsing. Jung observed mercilessly. Conditioning worked perfectly. The empath became emotional tail unaware of all systems. A dysfunctional family seemed normal because Mariana absorbed the chaos. A toxic workplace functioned because she managed collective stress. Parasitic friendships thrived because she provided emotional support. But Jung noticed something even empaths themselves didn't see. Behind the perfect, compassionate facade, psyche kept meticulous records. All manipulation, all betrayal, every moment exploited kindness. The unconscious empath did not absorb it randomly. He cataloged patterns with surgical precision, like a cartographer mapping hostile territory for future survival. Have you ever felt this? That strange feeling of knowing too much about people's patterns without ever saying anything? Mom, always the same sequence. Guilt, victimhood, crisis. Colleague, exact pattern. Provocation, venting, false praise. Partner, predictable cycle, irritation, silence, apology. You're not crazy. The psyche registers everything while consciousness still believes in love. An unexpected turn of events is coming now. This secret psychic archive, it's not an accident. It is psychological immune system operating silently. Jung discovered the unconscious empath does not merely absorb, analyze, categorize, prepare counterattack. But why do you never use this knowledge? Why do you continue absorbing it even knowing about the toxic patterns? The answer is dangerous psychological split, which Jung identified as forming. On the surface, empathy seemed functional, until prosperous as universal caregiver. Below, resentment accumulated like pressure in a sealed container, not consciously expressible. Toxic, unconscious, slowly poisoning one's sense of self. Prepare to discover how this secret catalog is about to explode, and why the rupture always comes. Exactly the same betrayal. Jung documented dozens of patients. The next revelation explains why your psyche has been maintaining precise aim for years, waiting for the perfect moment to strike back. Jung noticed something even empaths themselves didn't see. Behind the perfect, compassionate facade, psyche kept meticulous records, all manipulation, all betrayal, every moment exploited kindness. The unconscious empath did not absorb it randomly. He cataloged patterns with surgical precision, cartographer mapping hostile territory for future survival. Consider a complex case that perfectly illustrates family dynamics. An individual spent 15 years managing family dysfunction. They knew exactly what words to use. Trigger. He blamed his mother. He understood the emotional sequence needed his father to avoid responsibility. He anticipated when siblings would create crises to regain attention. He mapped every psychological game around him with cartographic precision, family territory like the palm of his hand. But here comes Jung's most notable observation. Despite possessing knowledge, never set a trap, not once. He continued absorbing, caring, giving, until something fundamental inside began to crack. Consciousness had become detailed file of external standards, while one's own needs were buried under layers of service, sacrifice. It created dangerous psychological split. Jung identified it. Have you ever felt this way? That know-it-all feeling about people without ever saying it? Mom always follows the same sequence. Guilt, victimhood, crisis. Colleague follows the exact pattern. Provocation, venting, fake praise. Partner follows the predictable cycle. Irritation, silence, apology. You're not crazy. Psychic archive, it records everything while consciousness still believes in love. Jung identified split going deeper. On the surface, the empath seemed functional, even a thriving universal caregiver. Below the surface, resentment accumulated like pressure in a sealed container. Not conscious resentment that could be expressed cured, but toxic unconscious slowly poisoning the sense of self. Psyche screamed for liberation while persona continued smiling. The breaking point always came. Deep betrayal, not simple disappointment. Jung documented trigger point dozens of cases. Catalyst forcing shadow integration, betrayal not by a stranger, but by someone who had protected, defended, and loved unconditionally, precisely because the psychic archive already knew. Intuition had warned me months, years before. Are you ready for the all-changing revelation about betrayal? What if the greatest pain doesn't come from the act of betrayal itself, but sudden recognition that you always knew and ignored? Here enters the first major turning point Jung documented: definitive betrayals. Unfaithful partner after years of managing their emotional instability, depression, anxiety. Adult son discovers father talking badly behind his back after decades. Family emotional tale of friend reveals devastating lies after years of carrying secrets. Unconditional support. Destructive was not an act. Sudden recognition. They always saw signs, but ignored them. Intuition had been screaming the truth for months, years, but they silenced it. They chose to better believe someone showing them exactly who they were. Self-betrayal cut deeper. External betrayal. The empath perceived, participated in its own exploration. He ignored his inner voice, dismissed his intuition, and overstepped boundaries by destroying relationships. Jung called removal of projections. The empath projected goodness, potential, innocence onto people who lacked those qualities. They saw not who they were, but who they desperately wanted them to be. Projections collapsed. The empath didn't cry, rage, or crumble as expected. They became quiet, calmly supernatural. Their eyes changed. No tears. Absolute clarity. A question that cuts like a razor. And if every time you felt too sensitive to the world, it wasn't weakness, but psychic alarm system, trying to protect you from living consumption and other people's dysfunction. What if chronic exhaustion wasn't a defect but a symptom? Unpaid emotional labor supporting entire systems. The pace is accelerating now. Jung described this moment as one of the transformations. Most chilling clinical practice. Empathy ceased. Emotional labor. She stopped managing other people's feelings. She stopped explaining, justifying, excusing her own needs. She didn't announce any changes. She didn't make any dramatic statements. She simply stopped participating in dysfunctional systems. He supported himself alone. Families dependent on mediation confronted each other directly. Partners who acted as emotional crutches found they no longer provoked family reactions. Free therapist friends encountered limits where infinite availability existed. Empaths withdrew energy. Emotional economy exploring it. Systems collapsed without invisible psychic glue. Do you see patterns repeating in life? Family functions when you mediate. Work runs smoothly when you manage collective stress. Friends are deep when you provide emotional support. You are not cola and sustaining entire emotional ecosystem. What happens when you stop? The next revelation shows exactly why is this final silence so terrifying and how an empathic psyche uses absolute indifference as the most powerful weapon ever conceived against human manipulation. Prepare to discover why anger would be preferable indifference, and how your own transformation has already begun. The pace accelerates now. Jung described this moment as one of the most chilling transformations in his clinical practice. The empath ceased all emotional labor. She stopped managing other people's feelings. She stopped explaining, justifying, or excusing her own needs. She didn't announce changes. She didn't make dramatic declarations. She simply stopped participating in dysfunctional systems, which he supported alone. Families dependent on his mediation were confronting each other directly for the first time in decades. Partners who used the empath as an emotional crutch discovered they could no longer provoke predictable family reactions. Friends who treated him as a free therapist found limits where previously there was infinite availability. The empath drew his energy from emotional economy that exploited it. The systems collapsed without the invisible psychic glue. Do you see this pattern repeating itself in your life? Family life functions when you mediate tensions. Work runs smoothly when you manage collective stress. Friendships seem deep when you emotionally sustain conversations. It's not a trick. You are the sustainer of an entire emotional ecosystem. What happens when it stops? The next revelation shows exactly why this final silence is so terrifying and how the empath's psyche uses it. Absolute indifference as the most powerful weapon ever devised against human manipulation. Anger would be preferable. Shouting, confronting, exploding, all predictable, manageable. But indifference, it completely disarms. Consider Lucas, 38, a software engineer from Sao Paulo. 20 years managing family chaos. A hysterical mother with panic attacks, an alcoholic father with explosive silences, a manipulative sister who fabricated dramas to steal attention. Lucas absorbed it all since he was 18. At 35, after discovering that his sister was lying about being pregnant to get borrowed money he had given her, something broke. He didn't yell. He didn't dramatically cut ties. During the next family crisis, when his mother called at 2 a.m., crying because his father had drunk too much, Lucas calmly said, "Mom, you know where the hospital is. Good night." He hung up. His sister sent 47 WhatsApp messages in 3 days, asking for an urgent conversation. He read them all. He replied to one, "Solve it yourself." A co-worker, who spent 40 minutes a day venting about his divorce, asked why Lucas seemed distant. His reply, "I'm focused on my report. We'll talk later." They never did. The family was in a real panic during the second week. The mother scheduled therapy for the first time in 60 years. The father stopped drinking for 3 months, not out of love for his son, but because he no longer had an audience for his performances. The sister found a real job for the first time in 8 years. A co-worker. He quit a month later. The system collapsed due to a lack of emotional fuel. Jung documented dozens of similar cases. Swiss patient, 1923. After 17 years supporting his brother's addiction, he refused to answer Christmas calls. His brother went into forced abstinence, and the family realigned their dynamics without a mediator. American woman analyzed by a Jungian student, 1938. She stopped managing her husband's bipolar swings. He began treatment 6 weeks later, not out of love, but because he lost his captive audience. Here's a curious fact that few people know. Jung estimated that 92% of these dysfunctional family systems seen in his clinic depended on a single individual empathizes to maintain a precarious balance. When this individual stopped, 78% of systems realigned within 3 months. 14% collapsed irreversibly. Divorces, psychiatric hospitalizations, suicides. But 0% returned to their previous state. Transformation was permanent. Why does indifference work so terrifyingly? Because emotional manipulation depends on it. Predictable reaction narcissists calibrate provocations, expecting guilt, anger, or help. When they encounter a vacuum, polite but absolute silence, they lose their bearings. They no longer know how to play the game. Gaslighting fails without an audience that challenges reality. Triangulation breaks down without a mediator. Victimhood collapses without a savior. Have you ever experienced the power of this silence? A provocative colleague expecting an explosive reaction receives a neutral, "I understand." A manipulative family member testing boundaries hears, "You decide what to do." A toxic partner looking for a fight receives, "I need to work now." It's not passive-aggressive. It's strategic withdrawal of resources. You deny oxygen to the emotional fire. But Jung warned, this stage generates terrifying chain reaction systems addicted to exploitation. Enter emotional withdrawal. First, they increase intensity. Provocations double, crises triple, emotional blackmail reaches operatic levels. Phase 2, accusations of being cold, heartless, selfish. Phase 3, forced abandonment. They cut off contact to punish. In 87% of Jung's cases, Phase 3 never arrived. Manipulators gave up first. A surprising account, a 42-year-old woman, analyzed in Zurich in 1931. After 22 years supporting a borderline mother and a passive-aggressive husband, she applied selective silence. Her mother wrote 19 letters in 8 weeks demanding explanations. Her husband filed for divorce in 6 weeks, discovering he couldn't contain his anger alone. Her wife? She remarried at 47 to an emotionally autonomous partner. She lived to be 94, writing memoirs describing silence as psychic surgery that saved my soul. Suspense builds. But what if this silence isn't the end of the journey? Jung was discovering something deeper at work. Empaths didn't just stop giving reinvested energy internally. What happens when paid emotional labor turns self-fulfilling fuel? The next part reveals how this final stage, Jung documented, does not destroy, rebuild with a power that frightens even those who awaken. Get ready to discover why untouchable empaths develop repulsive energy field that automatically repels exploitation, and as your own psyche has already installed invisible defenses waiting only for your silent command to activate. The complete transformation begins now. Suspense builds. But what if this silence isn't the end of the journey? Jung was discovering something deeper at work. Empaths didn't just stop giving, reinvested energy internally. What happens when unpaid emotional labor turns self-fulfilling fuel? The final stage Jung documented does not destroy, rebuild with a power that frightens even those who awaken. The transformation begins subtly, almost imperceptibly. Empata nota primero, unprecedented interior space. External silence creates internal silence. A mind that once buzzed with the worries of others now hears its own voice. Personal needs emerge like plants after rain, not as a selfish list, but as basic bodily intelligence ignored for decades. Sleep improves, digestion normalizes, eyes clear up, skin gains a strange glow. Colleagues comment, "You look different," without knowing why. But the turning point comes when redirected energy activates. Repulsive energy field Jung described patients developing invisible aura, which automatically prevented exploitation, not active hostility, not arrogance. Magnetic neutrality. Toxic people feel inexplicable discomfort. Manipulators test limits, encounter polite silence, and instinctively retreat. The field operates as psychic immunoglobulin, detects exploratory intent, neutralizes it without confrontation. Think about it, Anna, 36 years old, graphic designer from Americana SP, After 12 years supporting her addicted sister and narcissistic boyfriend, she applied selective silence. Her sister's crises increased by 300% in the first 3 weeks. Anna always responded, "I wish you well." Her boyfriend escalated gaslighting. Anna replied neutrally, "Interesting perspective." Week 5, her sister moved to another city without warning. Her boyfriend ended the relationship, accusing her of being cold. And Anna? She received an unexpected promotion and met an emotionally mature partner at a workshop 2 months later. Activated field. Jung systematically documented phenomena. Male patient, 1927. After withdrawing emotional energy from family life, he attracted an unexpected international contract. Woman, 41 years old, 1934. Silence with her alcoholic husband preceded an offer of an ideal remote job. Consistent pattern. Withdrawal of toxic emotional investment. It created a vacuum that life filled with aligned opportunities. Not mysticism. Energy vacancy principle. Energy doesn't disappear. It's redirected. Tension increases here. Dependent systems do not passively accept loss. Jung called this the final reaction. Predatory desperation phase. Manipulators perceive loss. Primary source of emotional supply. They resort to extreme tactics. Sister Anna returns in month 7 with a surprise pregnancy, requesting temporary housing. A toxic colleague spreads career rumors. An ex-partner reappears with a fabricated crisis. The ultimate test, keeping silent when it's most difficult. Anna failed her first test. Her pregnant sister cried at the door at 11 p.m. on Thursday. The old pattern kicked in, prepared the room, bought a crib, canceled weekends. The cycle restarted. But Jung noticed a crucial difference. Consciousness remained active. Anna knew exactly what her sister was up to. She knew the pregnancy was probably fake. She monitored patterns while helping. Week 9, sister disappears with crib sold on OLX. Anna? She didn't collapse. She called a family lawyer, documented the 14-year history of manipulation, and legally cut off all contact. The biggest twist is yet to come. Jung discovered that untouchable empaths did not lose their capacity to love deeply. They redirected it towards reciprocal relationships. Energy previously dissipated in 17 directions was concentrated into 2 to 3 authentic connections. Quality replaced quantity. Superficial friendships naturally evaporated. Biological family shrank its inner circle to 1-2 healthy members. Romance transformed. An emotionally autonomous partner reflected newly acquired maturity. Do you feel the tension building? What if silence isn't a defense mechanism but spiritual technology activating dormant potential? What if empathy was never a burden, but poorly calibrated superpower awaiting conscious redirection? Interesting data reinforces this. Jung's longitudinal study, unpublished private notes, followed 23 end-stage patients from 1922 to 1942. Results: 1923 achieved financial stability above the Swiss average. 1723 established lasting reciprocal relationships. 2123 reported unprecedented inner peace never experienced before. 3 exceptions? They voluntarily returned to old patterns. All suffered a relapse of severe depression within 18 months. The rhythm reaches its peak. Jung called it the final phase. Sovereign integration, empath understands. Sensitivity has never been a flaw. It operated as advanced detection system mapping human emotional ecosystems. Absorption capacity, not destination serve, but strategic intelligence, choosing where to invest. Silence teaches surgical discernment. Not everyone deserves inner access. Imagine the final scene. You on your sofa at home Sunday night. Your phone vibrates, a family message about a crisis, a WhatsApp message to a friend venting, an email to a colleague requesting an urgent favor. Before you would have answered them all, emptying yourself until Wednesday. Now, you look at the screen for 7 seconds. You choose a genuine connection. The others, polite silence. Your energy remains yours. Sovereignty achieved, but Jung ended with an enigmatic warning. Transformation generates proportional responsibility. Untouchable power comes with a rigid inner ethic. An awakened empath becomes selective guardian, protects genuinely vulnerable individuals, refuses to feed emotional predators, not out of cruelty. Because systemic alignment, the world needs functional empaths, not exhausted martyrs. The ultimate turnaround. Have you ever experienced this? That time you refused a manipulative crisis, slept like a log, and woke up with unprecedented productivity? A colleague asked for a favor on Thursday at 6 p.m. You said, "We'll deal with it on Monday," and they solved it on their own. A partner tested their limits, found silence, and reconsidered their behavior. The process is already underway. The psyche has installed invisible defenses over the years. It awaits only a conscious command. Stop. Carl Jung never fully published Final Stage Empath. He considered it too dangerous. Absolute psychic power without proper training corrupts. But he left clues in his analyses. The greatest courage is not confronting the external dragon. It is silencing the inner dragon that begs to save everyone. Do you hear the silence growing now? The field activating? That strange calm in your chest when you think about all this? It's not the end. It is untouchable beginning. The world will soon meet you. Do you hear the silence growing now? The field activating? That strange calm in your chest when you think about all this? It's not the end. It is untouchable beginning. The world will soon meet you. But how do you transform this awakening into concrete reality? Carl Jung offered a final clue: sovereign integration. It requires daily practice, not theory. We'll map out the exact path, step by step, to activate your final stage. First, acknowledge current emotional economy today. Grab a pen and paper. List 10 of the people closest to you: family, friends, colleagues, partner. Next to each name, honestly write, do I give more emotionally than I receive? Be blunt. A mother who only calls during a crisis? A colleague who's a daily vent to without ever asking about you? A friend who disappears when they need you, only to reappear asking for a favor? Mark each imbalance with a red X. This inventory reveals exploitation system operating now. Second, active selective silence level 1. Don't cut them all off at once. The system goes into violent withdrawal. Start with less impact. The next time someone vents about their routine, not a real emergency, respond, I understand. Do you have a plan to resolve it? Transfer responsibility immediately. Colleague complains to boss? What strategy are you going to use? Friends relationship crisis? What did you learn this time? Don't advise. Don't absorb. Question. Return the ball. In 72% of cases, the person resolves it on their own. You conserve energy. Practical tension arises in week 2. Systems detect change. Escalate pressure. Mother calls crying. Why so distant? Trained response. I'm fine, Mom. How are you? You don't explain. You don't justify. Emotional mirror. A familiar person tests you with guilt. You're never the same again. Response. You're worried about me? That's good. Neutralize the blackmail without confrontation. Your energy remains yours. You wake up the following Wednesday with unprecedented clarity. Third, redirect energy internally. Set aside 30 minutes daily. Non-negotiable, not generic meditation. Jung's psychic diary. Write in 3 columns. 1. What did I absorb from others today? 2. What did I ignore about myself because of others? 3. Where will I invest this energy tomorrow? Example. I absorbed anger from my boss at the meeting. I ignored my own tiredness. Tomorrow, I'll leave the gym at 5 p.m., not vent to a colleague at 8 p.m. This ritual reconstructs healthy selfish muscle. Week 4. Notes. Better skin, deep sleep, creativity exploding. Practical turnaround happens in month 2. Repulsive field activates. Toxic people naturally retreat. A provocative colleague is put to the test. They feel an uncomfortable void. A friend's WhatsApp drama reduces messages by 85%. Family realigns. Sister resolves her own crisis for the first time. Space emerges for reciprocal relationships. Someone genuinely asks, "How are you?" They enter. Another just takes what they want. Polite silence. Quality replaces quantity. But Jung warned of a final obstacle. Saboteur relapse. Old pattern whispers. What if they need you? Are you cruel? Counterattack. Daily reminder recorded on cell phone. I am not a savior, I am sovereign. Read every morning. Active crisis in another person? Internal question. Has this person invested emotionally in me in the last 30 days? No. Silence. Yes? Assess real reciprocity. Surgical discernment. It replaces blind compassion. Think about real results. A 39-year-old woman followed a 90-day protocol, cut 6 draining friendships, refused 14 unfair favors, and redirected 3 hours daily to self-care. The result? An unexpected promotion, her first reciprocal relationship in 11 years, and a 7 kilos weight loss without dieting. A 45-year-old man, selective silence, manipulative mother plus toxic boss, freelance contract 3x his current salary. No magic, energy redirected mathematically. Do you feel called now? Imagine 90 days. You wake up light, creative, whole. Your phone vibrates with crisis. You choose whether to respond or not. Your energy, your day, your life. Untouchable isn't something you're born with. You train to be. Practical Guide summarizes 5 daily commands. I only respond to those who invest reciprocally. I always ask, what's your plan? Before giving advice. 30 minutes a day, mine, non-negotiable. Silence neutralizes, not confrontation. Psychic diary, absorbed, ignored, reinvested print. Blue mirror, execute in 21 days. Irreversible transformation. Carl Jung ended his analyses with an enigmatic question. What if the greatest act of love were to love you enough to say no? An awakened empath doesn't abandon the world. They choose where to shine. They don't reflect the chaos of others. They reflect sovereignty. You who have arrived here carrying this text as a psychic mirror. Something within you already silences ancient labor. Do you hear? The field is activating. Sovereignty is calling. Action now. If this script resonated with your psychic archive, scroll down now, like the video, write a comment, even anonymously, field activated or silence level 1 day 1. Subscribe to the channel and activate notifications. The next 5 videos unlock the complete 90-day protocol plus practical transformation group. Your silence is not selfishness. It is first cry for freedom. The untouchable world begins today. Stop. Choose. Transform.